Hey everybody, Mr. Kaczynski here. I'm going to move on through section Y, which is monomials in the algebra portion of IXL today. Skill 3 is dividing monomials. So we did multiplying in the previous lesson. Now we're going to do some dividing. All right, so here we go. We've got 8j to the fourth over 2j. We're going to simplify this expression, and when they say simplify, basically, we want to put everything in lowest terms. We want j to only appear once, each variable to only appear once, and we don't want any negative exponents, so only positive exponents. So, best thing I can tell you to look at, or best way I can tell you to look at this here, is to think about it as two different fractions. 8/2 times j to the fourth over j. Okay, so we know that 8/2 is just 8 divided by 2, which is 4. And j to the fourth divided by j, we've done work with exponents before. We should know that this is j to the 4 minus 1. Okay, and j to the 4 minus 1 can just be simplified as j to the third power. So, simplified version of this is 4j to the third power. Here's another one. This one's a little bit different, but we can think about it the same way. As you get better at these, you'll start taking shortcuts. You won't necessarily write two fractions, but I think this is a good place for us to start. Think about this as 10 over 5 times x over x to the fifth. Now remember that x is really x to the first. Maybe I should get to that in just a second, but all right, so 10 over 5 is 2, and then x to the first divided by x to the fifth is x to the 1 minus 5. So that's going to turn out to be a negative exponent, and we're explicitly told in the directions to express our answer with using only positive exponents. So how do we fix that? And we've done some work with negative exponents before. That's really 1 over x to the fourth. So basically we can fix that by just taking it, moving it under the 2. So it's not 2 times x to the negative fourth. Don't think about it like that. A negative exponent really means division. So 2 divided by x to the fourth. So negative exponents really mean division. All right, well, what about this one? So we're looking at 7 over 7 times u to the 0 over u. Well, obviously the 7 over 7 is 1, or some people might think, oh, they just cancel out to 1, and we probably could have thought about that from the very beginning. Okay, what about u to the 0 over u? Remember, that's a u to the first power right there. So this is really u to the 0 minus 1, which is, again, I don't think we need this 1 right here. It's not really doing anything. When you multiply by 1, you're not changing anything. So we could have ignored it right off the bat as soon as we saw that 7 divided by 7. But this is u to the negative first power. We don't want any negative exponents, so we'll just call it 1 over u to the first power. So the answer is just 1 over u. A couple more examples for you. We're going to simplify this one. Okay. So I think at first we'll keep writing this as two different fractions. Okay, 6 over 12 times t to the negative second over t to the negative first. So 6 over 12 is 1/2. Remember, it's not 12 divided by 6 is 2. It's 6 divided by 12 is 1/2. And we're definitely not going to bring decimals into these. And then we've got t to the power of negative 2 minus negative 1. So maybe we should be thinking about -2 minus -1 as like -2 plus 1. Probably the better way to think about it. So we can write this as t to the negative first, because -2 plus 1 is -1, all over 2. But again, we don't want those negative exponents. So how do we fix that? Well, we move that t to the first power, divide by it. Okay, so it's actually going to be 1 over 2t to the first power. 1 over 2t to the first power. All right, let's take a shot at this one. Looks like there's a lot going on. We'll break it down piece by piece. We'll actually take some shortcuts, and I don't think you'll mind. So let's start off with 9 divided by 3. That's 3. Then we're looking at p over p. P divided by p is any number divided by itself is 1. And when you multiply by 1, 3 times 1 is still going to be 3. So a lot of people say they cancel out, and they're right. Okay, so we'll just ignore those p's. Then q squared, or sorry, q to the 6th divided by q squared. That would be q to the 4th, because 6 minus 2 is 4. Moving on, we've got r divided by r to the 6th. R divided by r to the 6th. So we're doing 1 minus 6 for our exponents. That would be -5. But whenever you have a negative exponent, you can move it to the bottom and make it positive. So instead of writing r to the -5th on top, we'll just write r to the +5th on bottom. We only have one left here. I'll switch my colors to brown here. S to the 9th divided by s. That's going to be s to the 8th, because 9 minus 1, that's a 1 right there, is 8. So our final answer here is 3q to the 4th s to the 8th over r to the 5th. So just break it down piece by piece. Coefficients, the p values, the q values, the r values, the s values, and negative exponents go on the bottom. So again, these examples should help you with skill 3, dividing monomials, from section Y of IXL's algebra problems.